On this week's News 30, Kevin McCarthy drops out of the race for House Speaker.
And the Environmental Protection Agency releases new rules for the use of pesticides. Welcome to this week's edition of News 30. I'm Jake Nelson.
And I'm Lindsay Skinner.
Kevin McCarthy is no longer running for House Speaker. McCarthy announced today that he was pulling out of the race due to a lack of votes within his party. Republicans were planning to vote today using secret ballots to decide who would be their nominee for Speaker. With McCarthy's announcement, the party is now unsure of what there will be in their next move.
The Environmental Protection Agency has updated their rules in order to protect farmers from pesticides. The previous standards had been in effect since 1992. The new rules will require a lot of changes for farmers, many of which are happy to comply. The EPA estimates that 10,000 to 20,000 workers may be poisoned by pesticides yearly. The EPA wants the new rules to be put in place nationwide. The new rules will take effect in about 14 months from now.
A Doctors Without Borders hospital was accidentally bombed last Saturday in Afghanistan by the United States. 12 medical staff members were killed and at least 10 patients. 37 others were wounded. President Obama personally apologized to the head of Doctors Without Borders and promised a full-scale investigation into the incident.
Edward Snowden, a former NSA employee who sought asylum in Russia after leaking confidential U.S. information, wants to come back home. Recently, Snowden has made it known that he wants to come home, even if it means going to jail. Snowden has been on the run from U.S. authorities taking refuge in Russia for more than 2 years and has apparently tried to come back several times. Snowden and his lawyers are currently waiting on a reply from the United States.
Residents of the Carolinas are seizing up what the floods have done to their states. As of Monday afternoon, when the worst of the rain stopped, the National Weather Service said rainfall totals in South Carolina had reached more than 2 feet of rain since last week. Dam breaks and damages will cost billions of dollars. The South Carolina Baptist Convention has been told to be on close watch given the historical rainfall flooding expected from the current storm system. All disaster relief units are now on alert. After the break, Westboro Baptist protests in Norman.
And Chesapeake Energy lays off several employees. Welcome back to Shawnee News 30.
It's been over a month now since school started back up. With fall break approaching quickly, it's a good time to brush up on some general safety for your children as they walk to school in the mornings. When crossing the street, your child should always use the crosswalk. When approaching the crosswalk, they should stop and look both ways before crossing the street. If there are cars approaching, your child needs to wait for the cars to pass by or come to a complete stop before attempting to cross. If there is a crossing guard on duty, your child should always obey the instructions from the guard to ensure their safety. Remember that proper education on crosswalk safety can keep children safe and prevent accidents.
The use of the Confederate flag is becoming a hot issue and more this week. After a few students were told not to bring Confederate flag-related apparel to school, a group called Sons of Confederate Veterans of Oklahoma is retaliating. To protest the rules about the flag, Sons of Confederate Veterans are encouraging students to wear Confederate flag-themed clothes. Several students have attached Confederate flags to their cars or trucks. The Moore School administration is still trying to decide how to properly deal with this issue.
Well, Shawnee, the word on the street is that our firefighters have put on a funny twist to teaching very important lessons. As part of National Fire Prevention Week, Shawnee firefighter clowns have been providing educational programs in schools as an entertaining yet educational way to learn. The Shawnee Fire Clowns will provide a free evening performance at 7 p.m. October 8th in the Shawnee Middle School gym. Everyone is invited to attend. The Shawnee firefighting clowns have been to several local schools and given an entertaining yet life-saving message about what to do in case of a home fire. And their lessons about firefighting, the firefighters also mentioned how important it is to every home to have a smoke detector.
On October 8th, protesters from Westboro Baptist Church gathered at the National Weather Center in Norman, Oklahoma. 6 members of the church voiced their opinions against the environmental journalists gathered and against LGBTQ rights. Opposition gathered to protest against Westboro, but there were no reports of any violence.
The Chesapeake Energy layoffs have sparked quite a concern for both employees and people of Oklahoma. Records show that before today, around 3,200 people worked for Chesapeake Energy. That number was significantly lowered today, as 15% of the Oklahoma City campus was laid off. Officials say a total of 740 employees from all areas and levels of the company were laid off. 562 of those employees are from Oklahoma City. Chesapeake Energy former employees are not completely out of luck. There's hope for these employees at other firms. News 30 will keep you posted. This week, Kickapoo construction is wrapping up.
Reporter Nicole Smith went out on Wednesday to find out what students at OBU think about the end of the construction.
Before yesterday, the intersection at Kickapoo and MacArthur was almost all construction. But as of yesterday afternoon, it is finally reopened with 4 lanes of traffic. Here's what the students at OBU think about the newly opened roads.
I think it'll save time because this means that, both sides can go at the same time.
It's just a relief to have it all done, and it's just smooth sailing from now on.
I'm so excited. I went to Walmart yesterday. It was the fastest trip I've ever made there. It was awesome.
Nationwide protest against Planned Parenthood is set to take place this Saturday, October 10th. This is the second round of protests since August. People will march outside Planned Parenthood facilities. Protesters hope to raise awareness of Planned Parenthood's abortion procedures and policies. Thousands are expected to attend. Coming up, evidence of water is found on Mars.
And Emma Patton has your weather update. Welcome back to News 30.
Here's Emma Patton with this week's weather.
Thanks, Jake. Well, as you all know, it was very warm outside today. Just as we were getting used to that sweater weather, the heat came back. Let's take a look at your current conditions. Right now, it's 79 degrees out there with calm winds, but it's still very humid as well, so it feels more like 81. The sunrise will be at 7:27 tomorrow morning, and the sun will be setting at 7:02 this evening, just about 30 minutes from now. As that happens, temperatures are going to continue to drop. The average high for the month of October is 76 degrees, so we've been a little bit above average the past couple of days. Our average high for this month so far is 81, but we've still got a lot of October left, and it is still expected to be a colder than normal season as we progress towards winter. Those above average temperatures will continue though after the weekend. Your weekend will start off with a high of 77 and a low of 51. It's going to be humid and partly cloudy, and there's a slight chance of rain, but those showers should miss us for the most part. That 20% chance is really for Alva, Ponca City, and Miami, Oklahoma. Saturday, it's going to warm up to a very sunny 81, and the heat will continue to rise, reaching all the way to 90 degrees on Sunday. Luckily, that's the limit for this week, and that may be the last time we see a temperature in the 90s for a while. Looking ahead, the next week will be much like today was warmer and more humid than expected, but pleasant outside. After that scorching Sunday, Monday is going to feel much better at just 82 for the high and 49 for the low. Monday, it's also going to be windy, a 15 mile per hour breeze coming from the north. So Monday might not be the best day to wear skirts or dresses for the ladies watching out there. The low will be the mid-80s The mid-80s will be the norm for the rest of the week. 80 on Tuesday, 84 on Wednesday, and 85 on Thursday, with lots of sun all week long. If you've been suffering from pollen allergies, the good news is that the levels have gone from very high to high, and the conditions are expected to improve as it gets colder. For now, though, that tree and weed pollen is high and the mold is moderate. Particularly in Oklahoma, the pollen counts are higher compared to the rest of the country. So continue taking those allergy meds and taking whatever precautions you find necessary. In national weather, Hurricane Oho is the northernmost Pacific hurricane since 1948. The storm, called a post-tropical cyclone, is causing some of our states outside of the continental U.S. some problems. Now heading toward Alaska and British Columbia, the storm is expected to bring a round of harsh, inclement weather. Residents of Juneau, Alaska are planning for incredibly strong winds, possibly even hurricane-force winds. The storm also carries quite a bit of moisture. Large amounts of rain could affect Alaska, Canada, and even the Pacific Northwest. Fortunately, large amounts of damage are not expected to be a result of this Hurricane Oho. Well, in review, it's looking like a warmer than normal week ahead of us, but lots of sunny skies as well. Back to you, Lindsay.
Thank you so much, Emma. The Ten Commandments Monument has officially been removed from the Oklahoma State Capitol as of Tuesday night. Workers took down the 6-foot monument using a crane. The Supreme Court ordered the monument's removal in June. This decision has sparked controversy all over the state of Oklahoma.
Due to increased levels of danger in the climbing Mount Everest, Nepal has been banned novice climbers from attempting to scale the mountain. In order to be eligible to climb Everest, climbers have to have already scaled a peak of 23,325 feet. The Nepalese Ministry of Tourism is hoping that these restrictions will lower the amount of inexperienced climbers on the mountain, which will hopefully result in fewer injuries.
Big news from NASA this week. Water has been discovered on Mars. Scientists say that it could have possibly supported life. Rivers have been seen on images of the red planet that have changed over a period of time, giving the appearance of flowing water. These rivers disappear when the temperature is below 10 degrees Celsius and appear at higher temperatures.
This morning, the National Day of Prayer Task Force visited Oklahoma Baptist University. Reporter Reagan McGowan has more.
Today, the National Day of Prayer bus stopped by Oklahoma Baptist University as part of their education tour. According to their website, this was just one stop on their tour across the United States. They will be visiting about 26 states and more than 50 campuses during this 56-day journey. This is Reagan McGowan reporting for News 30.
Microsoft just unveiled their first ever laptop this past Tuesday. The Surface Book is a 3-in-1 device that can switch between a laptop, tablet, or clipboard. Microsoft said that the laptop will be twice as fast as the MacBook Pro. The Surface will go on sale October 26, costing approximately $1,500. Pre-orders began yesterday.
Up next, Jermaine Tucker has this week's Sports Blitz. Please stay tuned. Welcome back to News 30.
And now here's Jermaine Tucker with your sports.
Thank you, Jake. One of the basic tenets of sports that drive coaches crazy is penalties. Penalties, both just and unjust, will go for and against teams in any game. Easily avoidable penalties will often lose a team the game. The Shawnee football team learned that lesson the harder way in a 28-27 home loss to Skiatook on Friday, September 2nd. The game changer was an unsportsmanlike conduct call that dropped the Wolves from third and goal from their own 4-yard line back to the 30-yard line to start the second quarter. And the penalties continued to pile on for Shawnee in the second half as an offensive hold pushed them back 10 yards, followed by a sack to Jack Diamond and a missed pass to turn the ball over. The Wolves are now 1-1 in district play and will travel to Tulsa on Friday to face Bishop Kelly. In other local news, the Shawnee Lady Wolves will not be making a run at the 5A state volleyball tournament title this year. The girls lost a debilitating match to the Bishop McGuinness at the Bishop McGuinness Regional Tournament to bring forth the end of their season. The Lady Wolves fought hard to keep their 5A state volleyball tournament hopes alive, but Bishop McGuinness held on to a slight advantage to run away with a 25-22 win to start the championship match. The Lady Wolves struggled in the second set, going down 2-0 with a 25-13 loss. The Lady Wolves fought hard to come back from their deficit in the third set, but were unable to make up the difference, losing the third set 25-11 to bring about the end of their season. In both victories over Texas and then again last Saturday against Kansas State, The OSU Cowboys needed last-minute field goals from Ben Grogan to win their respective games. In each of these games, Oklahoma State struggled to stop the opposing team's offense in the first half, but made adjustments at halftime to limit the damage in the second half, providing their offense an opportunity to bounce back in a big way. So while Oklahoma State hasn't necessarily piled up the style points against their opponents thus far this season, they have proved that they have the confidence and resiliency to battle back and overcome adversity. OSU will travel to West Virginia on Saturday to face the 3-1 Mountaineers on Saturday. And good news for OBU fans. After 4 weeks of frustration and absolute joy and fulfillment filled the air at Crane Family Stadium as Oklahoma Baptist steamrolled its way to its first ever NCAA gridiron victory, defeating Arkansas Marticalo 58-28. The Bison rumbled its way to 410 rushing yards and 503 yards of total offense. The OBU offense resembled the same ground and pound offense of last season with two 100-yard rushers. Jordan Barnes ran for 171 yards and a touchdown on 28 carries, and Steven Turner had 116 yards on 11 carries and scored a touchdown as well. The Bison will be on the road Saturday as they face off against Southern Arkansas. That's it for this week's Sports Blitz. Back to you, Lindsay.
This little girl could not wait any longer to hug her father after he returned home from Southwest Asia.
As her father stood in line with his fellow soldiers, his daughter raced across the gym and stole the hearts of everyone watching. Here's the clip of what happened. Well, hey, that's all for this week's News 30.
Be sure to check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube at Shawnee News 30. Have a good night.